All right, we're recording. So welcome everybody to the Ready Northwest Eugene Neighborhood Emergency Preparedness meeting. We have been trying to have these meetings about monthly. We did end up canceling the September meeting or skipping it for some other activities that were going on, but we're back here on our normal monthly night, which is the first Tuesday of every month from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. So tell your friends. We want to bring as many people to the conversation as we can. So let's go around and say your name, if this is your first time here, and then just what part of town you're living in. So I'm Jackie Worster. I'm in the River Road neighborhood, and I am, I think that was it. So we'll pass it to Charles E.
Oh, okay. I'm Charles C. Cartwright. I live in River Road, and I'm a happy member of this group. Thank you.
I see Jerry next.
Hi, I'm Jerry Brown, and I actually lived in Santa Clara, and I am the Santa Clara Net Control for the Emergency Communications and CERT organizations.
Awesome. I see Sarah next.
Oh, hi there. Oops, you do have to mute yours too. 1 second.
You're on mute.
All right, Sarah, your mic's muted.
Okay, there we go. I'm Sarah from West Eugene, Jefferson. Thank you.
Welcome. And Dale, do I see Dale and Sarah? Are you there together?
On the same couch.
Yes, and so we're from the Jefferson West Side neighborhood, and got a thanks, Rob, for the reminder to join this group.
Awesome, welcome. Lynn, I see you next.
Lynn Woodrich, I'm in the Bethel neighborhood.
Robert?
Yeah, I'm Robert Bowman. I'm I live in that strange hippie community that's on West Broadway, just east of Chambers, and we have the good fortune of being right across the street from Dale and Sarah.
Okay. Awesome. Jolene.
Hi, I'm Jolene Simpson, and I'm in the River Road neighborhood.
Thank you for being here. Jan?
I'm Jan Spencer. I live in the River Road neighborhood.
Thank you. Thea?
Thea Bell. I live off of 24th and Chambers. I'm on the board of Friendly Area Neighbors and one of the founding members of their emergency preparedness team. And I am absolutely gobsmacked for two things. One is I'm helping Far West reactivate their neighborhood association, and they actually had 60 people attend their very first meeting. I'm just totally amazed at that. And unfortunately, it wasn't recorded. Although it was hybrid, it wasn't recorded. I was trying to get the tape to John Q to do a story on it, but that probably won't happen. But the other reason I'm really gobsmacked is that Charles's briefing paper for the dam presentation. I'm just floored by it, and that's why I'm here tonight, to try to learn more from you guys, how you're doing all this wonderful things. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Thea. That is an impressive turnout for sure. John, I see you up next.
John Q. I'm in Southeast Neighbors. Happy to be here.
Welcome. And I saw a couple other join. Tressa, can you hear us? All right, we can circle back. Hey, Kathy, can you hear us? All right, they might still be connecting to audio, so we can always circle back. That's everybody that I saw on the screen. So for our agenda tonight, just to give everybody an overview, we're going to talk about some recent in-person activities that have taken place and how those went. We are also going to talk about the presentation from the Army Corps of Engineers about dam safety and flood risks. And then we're going to talk about some upcoming or in-person activities that are going on. There's a lot happening in the month of October. And then we've left some time at the end of the meeting tonight to talk about just kind of a show and tell. What are you working on as far as preparedness efforts in your home? Is there anything you need help with to talk to the neighborhood about? So we will start off with some updates about recent in-person activities. And the latest one that I know of is on the 24th, the Ready Northwest Eugene volunteers had a table at the Bi-Mart location here in River Road. So I'm wondering if anybody that was there, Charlesy, I think you might be the only one here from there. Would you like to give us an update on how that went?
Oh, yes, I would. We wanted to have something in our neighborhood. We've never had an event that I know of in our neighborhood with regard to emergency preparedness. And so Bi-Mart was, Jackie helped get the management there to agree to try us out. And it worked quite well. So well, in fact, that they are inviting us back this Saturday to have a repeat. And ideally, we'd like to even have a handout that explains to shoppers that are coming in, if you're interested in emergency preparedness, here's what you can get at Bi-Mart that can go in your go bag or get you more prepared. But in any case, there was representation from the 3 neighborhoods that comprise Ready Northwest Eugene. That would be Bethel and Santa Clara and River Road. And we were really fortunate that Matt Albertson came by and set up a little side booth with us and was able to talk about radios with a number of people who were expressly interested in radios. So that was very encouraging. We got about 13 or 15 signups. And those are people who were motivated enough to want to continue to get our literature and so on. And that's about it. Is there anything else, Jackie, you want me to talk about there? We had a very full table of literature to hand out.
Yeah, it looked like it. I saw the photo was sent out in the River Road newsletter, which was exciting to see everybody there. And I think this was one of the first in-person events that we've had, maybe a couple of other tables. I know some in the Bethel neighborhood, but this year we really just started getting back to that.
Right.
How was the engagement good from people who were stopping to visit at the table?
It was. Unfortunately, I had to leave a few times because I have a sick dog that I can't leave for very long. But particularly Ed Farron, and then there was Joel Robe, and who am I forgetting right now? That was pretty much it. And then Matt, we're covering it most of the time. I engaged in a few conversations. Again, I was really impressed by the people who are prepared. I wish we knew them better because they are, there are people out there that are very knowledgeable, and it's, hard sometimes though to get them to come to meetings and, have an ongoing relationship with them. But I was encouraged. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm excited, for the next one that's upcoming this Saturday, to do it again and to talk to some more people. I'm hoping that we'll be able to do more in-person events. I know not everybody likes the Zoom format. I think people can get zoomed out after so many years of doing this. So it's exciting to get back out there and do something in person. Yeah, Lynn.
Well, I just wanted to mention that we did have a booth at our 5 evacuation zone events from May through July. And Ed was at all of those. So it was really nice to have him there and talking to people.
Ed really honed his skills at those because he positioned himself right at the front door, and there was, I don't think, very many people that made it through that front door without him engaging them, and it was very helpful.
Right.
I hope he's back for the Saturday one.
Yeah, and they're going to do a fire safety at Jerry's on this Saturday. And I, as a CERT, am going to be there
Great.
because they asked me to do that because I have my certification now.
Yay, exciting.
That's great.
Yeah, so that's probably a good transition. Why don't we talk about the upcoming activities that are happening in the month of October? That kind of leads us into Jerry's Safety Day. I know, Jerry, you wanted to give an update on what's happening there, if you're ready to give that now.
I certainly am. So this Saturday, and I hope it doesn't conflict with what's going on at Bimart, Jerry's is having a fire safety day, and there will be 2 pop-ups there, one with the CERT team, and the other one will be with the MCOM team. And I originally was planning on having it set up so that we could send emails to people and their families, but it turns out that the other end is broken until Monday. They're going to fix it on Monday. So like Matt had at the Bimart last Saturday, I will have my emergency go kit set up, and we'll be demonstrating using ham radio for emergency communications. And that will be from 10 to 2 at Jerry's on Highway 99.
Awesome. So there'll be a CERT tent and the MCOM team out there. And then the Ready Northwest volunteers will be at Bimart from 11 to 3. So if you have time to hit both Jerry's and Bimart, get a lot of good information from all of those tables. But it looks like the one out at Jerry's starts at 10 a.m. and then Bimart starts at 11 a.m. So you can definitely hit both if you have the time. All right, so we know about those. That's this Saturday, October 8th. Before that, this Thursday, there is the Eugene Neighborhoods Preparedness Network meeting at 7:00 p.m. on Thursday. And Thea, since we have you here, do you want to give a plug about that meeting?
I'm not involved with it, but it is Tim Inglesby with FUSE, very knowledgeable wildland firefighter planner. And it's about community preparedness and resiliency. As far as I know, I just got the information last night. I tried to send it along to a few places, but it'll be over Zoom, and the links on there, the ENPN Facebook page, or you could, email somebody like Jackie or me to get it. Okay, yeah, to get the Zoom link.
Yep, you can contact Ready Northwest Eugene at gmail.com, and we can forward that to you. And I will send that invite along to our distribution list as well.
They were very helpful. They wanted to have the meeting on October 20th, and I told them I was really hoping that they and their membership, NPN, could join Friendly Area when we plan our follow-up of your tabletop exercise by doing one for our Friendly Area general meeting on the 20th of October. And that's when we'll be presenting our dam evacuation scenario from inundation from a breach. Yeah. And I've been working on a lot of things as well that are similar to what Charlesie put together, but hers is really brilliant and it's very helpful. Most of our PR has gone out yet, a newsletter and all that, but we really hope you guys can join us on the 20th, but it starts at 6:30. We're having our annual elections, so the exercise might not actually start till closer to 7, but John Q will hopefully get us all together in ship shape by then. And we're going to do, we need a slide to include that includes all your information. I was going to put one together. You probably already have one. We will definitely be heavily promoting the November 14th presentation for sure, because you'll have all the facts that we don't.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. So Thea, you said the exercise you're doing is on October 20th and the meeting starts at 6:30.
Right, and that is the day of the Great Shakeout.
Okay.
It just happens to be the day the fan general membership meeting and elections was being held, and I said, let's do it then. It's perfect. We're going to rock and roll on Shakeout Day.
Awesome. And in case anybody hasn't heard about Shakeout Day, it's on October 20th around the country, I think around the world, definitely in Oregon. People participate in an earthquake drill at 10:20 a.m. on 10/20. And you're supposed to drop cover and hold on at 10:20 for a minute or however many minutes you can, and start evaluating your space for impacts to earthquake damage. And I think you can go to shakeout.org for more information, but there's a recording that you can play and you can listen to it. I'm originally from Illinois, so earthquakes are an unfamiliar territory for me. So that's been an interesting exercise to participate in myself. So I encourage you all to do that as well. And then we know also on October 29th, there's a citywide emergency communications exercise that's taking place from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And Andy Davis is coordinating that with the CERT and emergency communications teams to use damage assessment teams and radio team leaders to do evaluations and radio practicing. So if you're interested in that, you can reach out to Ready Northwest Eugene at Gmail or post in the chat, or Jerry here too. Do you have any other information on that event?
No, I don't at this point. I can tell you that the the Santa Clara area, we don't have any disaster assessment teams. So if you know any people in this area who would like to step up and become a member of this, trust me, having gone through the San Francisco earthquake, this is really a plus. We're here to help everybody.
I can say something.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The reason we don't know more is Andy's really busy with the fall CERT class, as well as a number of other things going on right now. That the instructions will be coming out through the Eugene MCOM network, and that'll go out through the CERTs and other people to help form the disaster assessment teams, but they don't have to be forever and ever. We got good participation on the dry run a week or two ago by emphasizing how they form spontaneously at the time. It's not a long time commitment to form a team. I mean, it would be nice, but you never know. It's going to be depending upon the incident and the time. And Friendly's dry run turned out 21 participants who came to the park and formed their teams and went out and found the damages to report. That was pretty astounding to us to get that kind of participation. There's just a lot of people that are really woke and getting very serious about trying to do what they can.
That's great, Thea, having so many people turn out. Yeah. And I'm also not aware of any teams that are formed in the River Road neighborhood either. So if anybody's interested in participating in something like that, we're definitely looking for people to volunteer their time to practice with radios and just practice walking around with your neighbors to evaluate scenarios and situations around you. So everybody can get involved there, walk, bike, roll, anything.
Nobody in Bethel either.
Okay, we're severely lacking.
Teresa, you could volunteer.
Anybody can join this exercises with just a couple people and be their little neighborhood team. It's very flexible and inclusive. We didn't use our Radio Ready format in Friendly. We didn't want to run it through that. We did it as a separate type of drill, kind of a scrimmage on the scene without having a net control, which had a lot of challenges. But, yeah, it was. Someone called us the Keystone Cops when they saw us out in the park. It's like, we're practicing.
I saw Jolene's hand go up.
Yeah.
Well, I just had a question about getting the word out, particularly about these disaster assessment teams. I think you're right that a lot of people are very interested in emergency preparedness, but might not want to come to Zoom meetings for a lot of different reasons. But I was wondering if we can utilize the River Road Park District newsletter to promote an exercise if there's been any outreach to them, because I know they reach every household in the River Road neighborhood. I don't know, do they also mail to Santa Clara? Yeah, so that's a big area, you know, and it's already a publication that's being mailed. It's, I think, quarterly, but it seems like that would be a great resource to get the word out also. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Great suggestion. All right. I think that was all of the upcoming events I had on my calendar. Does anybody else have anything they want to share? Upcoming activities, announcements?
Are we going to talk more about the dam safety?
Yes, that's up next.
Okay, that's up next. Thanks.
Jan.
Yeah, this is a past event, but we had a permaculture site tour in the neighborhood a couple weeks ago, and there were like 35 people, some people from out of town even. And it's an important ally, a converging interest of preparedness, along with the ideas of producing more food, more energy, rainwater catchment. I don't know if this group is doing much to advocate those kinds of preparedness approaches too, but they are essential in my opinion. And there's a lot of people who look at the state of the world. My God, what are we going to wake up to in the morning for a headline? Who knows? But this tour that we did definitely emphasized the value of permaculture, edible landscaping, and all these producing at home food storage kinds of approaches as being essential in terms of preparedness and resilience.
Yeah, that makes sense, Jan. And I know you have those site tours pretty often. Is it a regular schedule that you have them, or just whenever you're able to get them coordinated?
I wish it was more often. If there's interest, if say that you put out the opportunity to this group and there were 5, 8, 10, 12 people, who were interested, I would be glad to do a site tour, for even 5 or 6 or 8 people. And if we had a date, then other people could be invited too, because I know Rob is real interested in this too, in terms of permaculture approaches. So I'm open to doing something. I don't have anything planned, but it doesn't take long, to make a plan and then invite people to participate still, while the weather's good. So I'm available for doing that.
Awesome. Thank you, Jan.
Could you say something about what you do on those tours?
Yeah, what we do on the tours, we went to a lot of different places. This was a almost marathon tour. So much we had to look at. We couldn't make it over to Rob's house and Rob's place because what Rob has going on definitely fits in. But what we do is we take a look at what people are doing on their properties. And for example, here at my house, I've got food growing everywhere. I have a 6,500 gallon rainwater storage system, passive solar redesigned to the house to help heat my house in the wintertime, different examples of food storage, and other people have different things to show and tell. Front yard gardens are just awesome. There's more front yard gardens in River Road than I've ever seen. And that's good, for producing food, but it's also a great way to meet your neighbors too. I just know so many people have said to me they've met so many wonderful people. If you notice front yard gardens, they tend to be in clumps because somebody sees it and somebody nearby says, oh, that's a good idea. I think I'll do that. So the idea is just to see what people are doing in their own lives and their own lifestyles too. Lifestyles is a big issue about how able are we to take care of, an appreciable amount of our own needs. So I would be glad to go into more detail at some time if somebody's interested.
What occurs to me is that when we have a booth, it would be really helpful to have a 1-page catchy handout for people who would want to pursue this idea more. And Jan, we'd probably have to depend on you to do that because the rest of us there aren't very many people doing the work. So if you want to put together something like that we could include in our repertoire of handouts on the essential need for more sustainable living lifestyles, I mean, I for one would welcome it as a handout.
Oh, that's fine.
And to be able to trigger conversations with people who are walking into Bi-Mart or wherever.
Absolutely. No, I can do that. That's fine.
Yeah, and to be able to say for more information, please contact Jan Spencer and go on a tour and learn more.
Yeah, no, that's be
That
glad
would
to
be
do that.
really, really helpful.
Jen has a really cool poster.
I'd be
got
glad
a poster.
to supply you with posters. I've got lots of posters.
It's just got to be on a small enough scale that we can realistically have it on a small desktop or
Yeah,
tabletop.
these are, yeah, thanks, Lynn.
Yeah.
They roll up. They roll up like a diploma, you know. Anyway, we'll think about that. But as
Yeah.
far as a one-page sort of intro to this aspect of preparedness, I'll do that, sure.
Yeah, that's all we have the space for, whether it's dam safety or freezing temperatures or heat or whatever. That's sort of how it goes. Just sort of quick sales pitches, if you will, to see who bites.
Yeah, no, I'll do that.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right. So I believe next up on our agenda, we have to talk about the upcoming presentation from the Army Corps of Engineers with the dam safety. That leads us into that conversation. And Charles, you're a resident expert on this topic. So if you'd like to kick us off on what you'd like to share here.
Yeah, I would love to be able to show the poster that I did and also the paper just to give people an idea. And then maybe I can post in the chat the links to where they are, Jackie, in our public folder. Is that a good idea? Okay. Let's see. Well, maybe I'll get to the links later. Basically, I reached out to the Army Corps of Engineers several months back, and I was rather delighted to find that I got help immediately from them. And they committed to doing this presentation in November. And what we ended up doing was deciding to go with Monday, November 14th at the regularly scheduled general membership meeting time for the River Road Community Organization. And it's co-sponsored by that group, ARCO, and also this group, the Ready Northwest Eugene. And the contact person I'm currently working with is a person some of you may already know the name of. His name is Dustin Bankson. It's a little bit hard to pronounce. And he has been around for 30 years doing this work. He, I believe, lives in Eugene, and he's the Deputy Operations Project Manager for the Willamette Valley. He was actually at a meeting in 2014 that a lot of people have alluded to, that was on dam safety and so on. But at that time, it wasn't allowed that people could walk away with any printed material on what they heard. So they saw inundation maps back then, but they couldn't take them away. So it's kind of folklore, what I've heard about this meeting, and that added a little bit of suspense and maybe conspiracy sense to it. So I'm really happy that we're finally getting a chance to hear a presentation from the Army Corps in which we now have good inundation maps available for anybody to access. And we take away, I hope, some of the mystique and get to the facts, and at least as the Army Corps feels they are. And then we can pursue maybe future meetings to peel away at the onion in terms of what can we do to increasingly move things in a direction of additional safety for ourselves. This briefing paper that Jackie, thank you, Jackie, you put in the link to is a paper, I think it's almost 5 pages, and it shows some of the inundation maps and risk assessment data that is available in the God, what is it called? The National Inventory of Dams. And this is an amazing database, a little scary because it does show that if one or several of the dams breached, we would be very deep underwater, and Springfield especially would even be worse, but it's a pretty grim prospect. The Army Corps, I'm sure, is going to explain why they feel their maintenance of those dams is going to keep us away from that risk, but it's worth a serious discussion, especially in my view, as climate change is bringing about more unpredictable weather patterns. And one of the things that can cause breach in a dam is unusual saturation of the ground and so on. And we'll get more into that in that presentation. It also is possible with that database, and I didn't know this in time to go research it myself, but apparently it is possible to actually see how that water would rise over time. So one of the things I think we're going to want to zero in on there is, when will we get alerts, and over how many hours will we, how will the conditions change, and what are our options as that progresses? I have gotten no resistance from them whatsoever. I'm going to share this briefing paper with them. They've seen an earlier version. And we're asking that people who are interested in this topic and will be attending, who have particular questions they want answered, to send them to Jackie, to send them to the Ready Northwest Eugene email, and we'll pass those on to the Army Corps. What we want is for them to be prepared to answer questions and not be, not waste our time with things that they haven't had a chance to answer correctly and thoroughly. There is also a poster that I created for the BIMART handout, and I would like to send it to people. I mean, maybe I should have this conversation with Jackie, send the poster and the briefing paper out. I really think sharing it far and wide is helpful. I want people to go to that meeting with hopefully a rather high level of understanding, as best we can right now, as to what the condition of the dams is, and how we perceive this as a potential threat to our safety. Part of what we want to have answers on is, what could we be doing now? Is there anything we can be doing now to improve our preparedness for an event like that? Evacuation is very challenging in the River Road neighborhood. Some of the other people at this meeting may have better chances of heading to the hills, but those are the kinds of things. It's a little scary, but it's worth pursuing and finding out good answers to. Anyway, that's maybe all I need to say right now. Are there any questions or any thoughts about this presentation? Oh, just as a sidebar, it was a really nice coincidence that I found out that FAN was doing this tabletop exercise on the 20th of October. I've been talking, I hope I've been saying November, or the meeting we have is in November, but that's only maybe 2 or 3 weeks ahead. And at first I was worried that we were going to be working at cross purposes, but now I see it as a really important saturation, if you will, of people to elevate the awareness of this issue. And I've had nothing but cooperation from Thea and Allegra, I believe, at FAN, and it feels like a good partnership.
Yeah, my question was just to know if we could use that poster in some of our slideshows and presentation.
You have my permission. One of the questions is a technical one. I don't know how to put in a poster format a Zoom address. So it's a little awkward that way. And so maybe I can talk to, yes, the answer is, as far as I'm concerned, you can use whatever you need and want to promote it, but it is a little clumsy. It gives addresses to write to our organization, but there isn't so far, unless someone can explain it to me, a short link. Yes, Jerry. Oh, I'm sorry, Lynn. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, there's something called bit.ly, bit.ly, and that'll take any big, long URL and make it into a couple characters. So that's
Right.
what you would use.
Thank you. I didn't know if that would work for Zoom, though.
Yeah, it does. I use it. Yeah. And it's we use tinyurl.com.
Yes, that's the
That's
one I'm more
Yeah.
familiar with.
And it works really
That's
well.
the same thing.
I was
Yeah.
just going to mention that November 14th is also the city council meeting where I talk every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That's a shame. Yeah, I will try. Does anyone else, and well, I'll pursue it maybe with Jackie. I do want to shorten that, and then I could make the poster available, and then it really would be helpful to you. I just want to solve that problem.
Okay.
Jolene?
So do you think the Army Corps would be open to inviting media to the meeting in November?
They're not only open to it, they offered to make the contact for us.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and we would like media to be there. I mean, it's I think the comment that was made is they may not be there, but at least they would be aware of it and possibly able to publish an announcement of the event. So
Yeah, I guess linking it to emergency preparedness and sort of maybe a heightened interest in our community, given everything going on around the world. People, maybe the media, somebody would come or participate in the meeting. And I also wondered if the Army Corps, this is just a random thought, has like a QR code that could be embedded in the material that could be used on the poster as a way for people to access this information.
access the database for
right.
the poster doesn't.
QR codes are easy to make.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the poster isn't really conveying that. The links to that are in the paper, the briefing paper. I
Right.
don't know that it would. I'll think about it and look at the poster and see if.
Yeah, a QR code to the briefing paper would be great
Okay.
in my mind.
Well, and I can certainly do a link to the, I mean, that's a good suggestion to do it to the inventory of dams. It would, I don't know that people would really be able to figure it out, but yeah, I'm going to write that down anyway, to the briefing paper. And
I just made you a tiny URL called Dam Safety Meeting.
Yep.
Great, Lynn.
No space.
I've been working with those maps all year and I've
There's no
never been
space.
able to find the timeline for that inundation. And Doug was supposed to help us get to that and this week. And I think it'd be very difficult for other people to try to go on there and figure it out.
yeah, but I will work on that. Okay. Jan?
Yeah. Are these maps and this information available? I mean, are we talking about that right now? What's the accessibility? I've heard about the inundation maps and seen one upside down. Is there a location you can put in the chat that we can use to go see some of this stuff?
I am not sure if Jackie may have added one. This briefing paper has those. The briefing paper has links to the various examples that I share in the briefing paper that comes from that database.
So is that accessible? Is that something somebody can put in the chat? Or could there be a screen share and we could grab it, do a screen grab of that URL information?
It's on the chat now.
It's in the
Yep.
chat. Okay, all right.
Yep,
that's
I
good.
just reposted it, Jan. If you don't see it, let me know and I can, it's also in the ARCO newsletter that just went out too. There's a link in there
Okay,
as well.
okay, that's good.
Right. And okay, Jerry.
Okay, so if it's up to me, the biggest scary thing for people is going to be that inundation map. If those are public, I highly suggest we make a plasticized large copy of that and hang that up in the tents. That will grab so many people. You know, they'll figure out just from where the belt line is and all that. And that'll bring people right up to the table.
I think that's an excellent idea to get the conversation going.
Yep.
They're real. And the other thing that I didn't understand until recently is that there's actually a way that database is robust and it isn't totally intuitive, but you can search it in such a way that you can see the collective effect if multiple dams were to breach. And that's pretty amazing. I mean, if you start with lookout point, and then, I mean, most people that seem to know the dams say that if that one were to breach, it would cause others to breach. So that's part of the education we want to get. And then I think a large part of what the Army Corps is going to talk about is how they are mitigating that likelihood. And the other thing is that all of those dams are rated as high risk, which I took to mean that they were at high risk of breaching.
No.
But in fact, what it means is, were they to breach, the consequence of that breach would be very high risk, meaning a lot of disaster. It's a hugely different interpretation. And it's not it's not clear to me without a lot of digging that that's what's meant by high risk. So it's been helpful to talk these things through. I've learned a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, Jolene?
Well, I just wanted to say that I understood, maybe it was related to the hurricane in Florida, but there were flood risk maps that were developed by FEMA, and people contested them because it raised their insurance rates and made their property less desirable. So there was just backpedaling on that assessment, and it was kind of back on the drawing board for reconsideration. So I'm guessing we're going to get a little blowback about all this also. I mean, people will want to be prepared, but I think people also will be, like you said, it's, you know, what is the risk? What does high risk mean? And so anyway.
The approach we're taking is that it's very unlikely. It's very low. You know, the chances of all these conditions aligning are very rare. But so was the chance of a pandemic. So was the chance of World Trade Towers getting attacked, and a lot of other things that have happened. We're just using it as a scenario for our exercise, just to be aware that there is a possibility that something like this could happen. We're using Hills Creek Dam, the one above Lookout, which has been, targeted to be more high hazard that could overtop Lookout, but any of them could work. And I also put out a very poor inundation map for our promo. I didn't have as good a one as you guys got, but my concern is that any of those are they're very arguable, because it all depends upon the level of the reservoir and at what rate it might breach. And they've drawn down Hills Creek by 10 feet due to the earthquake concerns, and they're all the levels are changed all year round. Like right now they're very low to be ready to accept the winter rains. And so You know, there's a lot of different conditions. The maps are not, you know, ironclad. And that's what thing we need to also project. They're called the teacup maps based on the level in the reservoir and low to high. And when you promote, if you put one in plastic and put it up there, then that's not necessarily the way it goes. My concern too is that, you know, you could have a lot of, like with those flash floods and other things, you could have a lot, there's going to be a lot of debris coming down, and that could create dams. And it could dam up at I-5, and then it could go backwater, go up the Coast Fork, and go out more up in the Mohawk before it ever comes down to Eugene. And then all along during that timeline, you're going to have different debris dams breaking, and those are going to come on down. And the debris is almost, you know, more horrifying than the water level for sure for us with our forests. But with the denuding of the hills and wildfire that we've had all over through their reservoirs, it's becoming more of a concern during climate change. And I'll get off my high horse. Thank you, Charles.
Oh, thank you.
What I think, may I speak?
Yes.
What I think I've observed over the years is they keep the dams empty or low during the winter to prepare for rainwater surges, but then they fill them during the summer for recreation purposes.
Right.
And I really think that as much as I hate to pee on the parade of a bunch of guys with jet skis, I think they could find some other place to play with their toys rather than have us saddled with a much greater length of time during which we're at risk.
Yeah, I've even talked to people who are fishermen who wish that, I think it's the Lookout or Hills Creek Dam would be taken down because of its poor compatibility with the migration of fish, etc. So it would be interesting if that were. Lynn, do you have anything you want to say?
Well, I was wondering, with the infrastructure money that's supposed to be coming, do we have that coming our way to you know, improve some of our dams?
Well, I think that would be a good question to ask them. And one of the things that kicked me off in the interest of this was an article, I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago in USA Today that talked about the condition of the dams nationwide. There are over 90,000 dams, and the money in that infrastructure legislation, I believe, is maybe it's $7 billion or something like that. I am not really sure of the exact number, but they estimated that to bring all of the dams in the states up to snuff would be like up to 80 billion or something. I mean, it's just, I don't know how accurate that article was, but that's what got me thinking, oh my God. Because at that time I was under the impression that the high risk meant that the condition of the dams was very poor. So that's part of what we will need to.
That's when you got your boat, right?
That's when I got my little rowboat. Like that would help. But yeah, here's another thing that I have in that briefing paper that has alarmed me personally, because I live in River Road. My house is at 407 feet in elevation above sea level. And part of what was expressed as a statement that came out of that 2014 meeting was by someone, allegedly an engineer, was that it could be that the elevation of the floodwaters would be as high as 450 feet above sea level.
Say that again.
It was reported that somebody at that meeting in 2014 had said that the elevation of the floodwaters, and I'm not sure what conditions they were talking at, maybe multiple breaches, would be as high as 450 feet above sea level. And they were specifically talking about where I-5 intersects with Willamette Street. And then I thought, well, is it going to really matter if it's 450 feet? I want to know how high my house is. So is it even worth getting up on my rooftop? And my house is 407 feet. That's a huge discrepancy. That isn't saying it's going to happen, but that was part of what was getting to me about, I need to know more. And we're not hearing from the offices of emergency preparedness on this subject. So it seemed like maybe we needed to bring the attention ourselves to the issue. Go ahead.
That's a
Ruth.
question I have, is if Patience has been invited. I have not invited her yet to ours, but ours isn't a factually based thing. It's just a scare tactic, and let's talk about what could happen and what are we going to do.
Yeah, we're going to be sending it out to our entire database, and she's on our database list. Honestly, this meeting I wanted to be focused, or I think we do want it to be focused mostly on what the Army Corps says. I think it would be great to have follow-up meetings with patients and the county, but I want to hear from them, because we did hear a year ago that she said the stars would have to be aligned in a perfect way for this to ever be an issue. And to me, that's not talking about the facts of this situation. So I think we're thinking this is going to be the first of other presentations on the subject, but to give the Army Corps a chance to answer our questions and present their point of view on how they're managing the dams. Does that sound reasonable? It's only going to be an hour and a half long with a lot of question and answer time. You're agreeing.
Yes, very admirable
Okay.
of you. Thank you so much.
We're going to try. And, I think to create a buzz is a positive thing. I'd rather see people become aware and then learn through. Yeah, I'm going to walk away, I imagine, still skeptical, but I'll be more informed.
I saw a lady floating in her inflated swimming pool in her living room today in Florida. She was almost up to the roof, and that could be another alternative to have available.
Yeah, Jackie?
Yeah, I was going to say this is a timely conversation with everything that's going on in Florida. We're seeing some real life impacts of how it's impacting people's homes and properties and lives and plans. And back to Thea's point in question, we definitely think that we'll have some follow-up conversations out of this presentation. We want to use our December emergency preparedness meeting, which will be immediately after that presentation on December 6th. We want to use that meeting to talk about follow-ups. What did we learn from the presentation on the 14th with the Army Corps? And what do we need to do about it? Do we need to get the word out to people about specific preparedness steps? Do we need to talk to our local city managers? Do we need to put the pressure somewhere? We want to talk about follow-ups in that meeting for sure. So
great.
I'd like to know what people who are responsible for emergency preparedness, what do they envision as potential mitigations and rescue for under a circumstance like that? I mean, it's great for us to talk amongst ourselves, but there is an alert report, a report on how to do alerts that has been out for years. And is that still being practiced? Is that still in effect? And how soon would we get alerts? And then this whole thing about like the elevation, how many hours does it take to get to that height? And, if it's 7 or 8 hours with a no problem, then that's important for us to know, as opposed to an hour and a half. I don't know.
yeah.
So anyway, we'll find out more. My intention is not to scare people, but it is to alert people. And I hope that's what we're doing here.
Yeah, keeping the conversation going. And we will also have, I was going to say, our next emergency preparedness meeting is on November 1st. So that does fall before this presentation, which is good. That gives us another chance to connect and talk about other questions that we might have. If any of you think of questions outside of this time, definitely send them to us so we can share them with the Army Corps.
Please do. Yeah. Yeah, that'll be.
We
All
can
right.
make that part of our presentation to send your questions that we have not been able to answer to you guys.
That would be
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much.
I don't, John Q, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
As a press person, what will your interest in that presentation be?
I just what all the questions are. I think you raised the key one. It's like, can you shelter in place by going up to your roof and ride out? You know, and I'm sure there's a big class of these events where that's what they'll advise you to do. But
Yeah.
yeah, I think we just want to learn more about this. It may be, you know, as we've talked it through, it may be that for a lot of people, it's like find the closest high ground and go there. And if you have friends, you know, on College Hill or on, you know, Fox Hollow, go stay with them until, you know, it's safe to return. So yeah, I like that idea that this is the first of a lot of conversations. We're all going to learn together and figure out how to take care of one another.
Yeah. Good, thank you. That's great.
All right, doing a quick time check. We only have about 4 minutes left in our meeting, so I wanted to leave a couple of minutes for anybody who wants to share maybe what they might be working on preparedness wise, or if you need help with any activities or tasks or ideas on how to do something around your home. John, I saw your hand.
I attended a FEMA training today, taking care, I guess now they we have a lot of more people who have been diagnosed or identified as autistic on the autism scale, and a lot more elders, people suffering dementia as they grow older. And FEMA gave a presentation on people who start to leave, they wander away from the safe location where they are. So there was a really good talk, and I'll try to make that recording available about how to support folks with that condition. But it was a really good talk. That was today.
Great. Awesome.
I have a question probably for another meeting, but today I was on Coburg Road. So I was on the other side of the river from River Road. And I also have a knee injury, so I can't really walk very far right now. And I thought, as I often do, what would I do if the earthquake happened right now? And it was just, you know, we've talked about, well, where would we meet and where would we go and do we have supplies? But I thought we should really talk about scenarios, you know, like what if we are on opposite sides of the river and the bridge is down? So anyway, yeah.
In my view, it is an absolute blunder that the city allowed Riverbend Hospital to be built on the same side of the river with Mackenzie Willamette. But oh no, the doctors and managers wanted to have some nice pastoral campus next to the river rather than some more practical spot like that large brownfield area at 2nd and Garfield, which I think would have been an ideal location for it. But oh well, it's done now.
Yeah, I testified against it being built on the bend in the river where the water would come into the ER and you know, water would go all the way up to almost to the roof in any kind of a real flood. That's just going to be awful. Yeah.
Yeah, being across the river is always a moment of clarity to realize, how do I get back to my home and all of my supplies? So double checking that you're carrying a go bag in your car with food and water and medicines, potentially first aid kits, supplies you might need to get back across the river or to get in contact with somebody. Always a good time to refresh on what you're carrying with you so you're out and about and you have some things. Lynn.
Got an electric car and I had to go through my other car that I was trading in, and I had no idea how much go bag stuff I had in there. It filled up half my trunk in my new car. So I'm ready.
That's great. Yeah.
I got a chance to go to a net camp, Portland Neighborhood Emergency Teams. And they invited CERTs as well for 3 days up in Portland a couple of weeks ago. It was really interesting. I got to attend a lot of seminars. One of them was disabilities and disasters, and another one was sanitation and disasters. And the sanitation leader was excellent. I'm going to invite her to do a Zoom here. She's very interested in that. But she made the point that sanitation kills more people than any other type of disaster event. The impacts of a lack of sanitation, which we're now seeing in Florida, and which we would see after such a catastrophic inundation that could have happened here. It was, even with my knee problems, I was able to get around a little bit and get my tent up and do the whole thing. We were on radios for 3 days. It was a very valuable experience. And I encourage any CERTs to try to connect with that for next year when they do it again. It's only like $25 for 3 days and extremely worthwhile.
That's great. That was the Portland Net
Yeah,
neighborhood.
NET.
Okay. Awesome. All right, I see we're at 7:31, so we don't want to keep everybody too long past the time. This meeting will be posted on YouTube to share with your friends. But if you have questions, feel free to email them to us, and hope to see you all again next month. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Thanks. Good
Thanks,
night.
everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.